Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into the heart of what makes communities, especially schools, work well, or not so well. We're focusing on school ethics and bullying prevention. And this deep dive is really put together just for you. We've drawn from, well, quite a stack of sources, some really insightful educational slides that lay out the basics, plus some deeper texts that, explore all the tricky details. Our aim here is to give you a real shortcut to being properly informed on this.
Exactly. And our mission, if you like, for this session is to pull out the absolute must-knows about school ethics. We're
Yep.
talking specifically about respect and love and care, how they really are the bedrock of a supportive community. And then from there, we'll look at how to build up a really strong kind of multi-layered defense against bullying. Understanding how these two things link up, well, it's just vital for anyone who wants to create spaces that are safe and genuinely inclusive.
Absolutely. It's going to be a bit of a journey, I think, into some practical ideas and maybe some surprising bits about how these concepts actually work in the real world. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, let's kick off with what our sources are calling school ethics, the art of respect and care.
They describe it almost like the air we breathe in a school. You don't always see it, but it's absolutely essential. Basically, it's the moral compass, the rules that everyone, teachers, staff, students should be following.
hmm And I found the analogy they use quite helpful, comparing school ethics to traffic rules in a city. It's not just about, controlling what one person does. It's about making the whole system flow smoothly, creating an environment where people can actually learn and thrive. And the core of it, as the text really stress, comes down to two main things: love and care and respect.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. Respect. That means things like actually valuing what others think, being considerate of students from all sorts of backgrounds, and, sticking to the school rules. It's kind of the social glue, right? Helps everyone learn together. And love and care. That sounds more active, like deliberately making the school a warm place, welcoming, where everyone feels safe, supported, like they actually belong.
That's a great way to put it, active. And the analysis shows how everyday things that might seem small, like cheating on a test or maybe copying homework, disrupting class, even just littering. These aren't just isolated little problems. They can subtly but really quite profoundly mess with the school's whole atmosphere. They can step on other students' rights and, yeah, chip away at that campus harmony. It makes you ask, doesn't it? If these basic ethical things aren't being held up, how can a school really do its job of educating and helping kids develop fully?
That's a really critical question. And the sources give some, well, pretty modern examples to show this isn't just theoretical. Like the dorm mining case, you had students basically running crypto mining rigs in their dorms, using up huge amounts of school electricity they weren't paying for. It wasn't just about nicking power. It showed a bigger issue. How do you manage shared resources ethically when people come up with totally new ways to use them, ways the old rules never even considered?
Right. And another one, maybe going back a bit further, was this platform, Wretch. It was a huge blog and photo site in Taiwan, and it got its start, essentially, by using university internet resources without permission. Now, it built a community, sure, but its massive, unauthorized bandwidth use. It raised big questions about fairness and digital responsibility in a school setting. These aren't just, old stories. They show how fast technology moves and creates these ethical gray areas where we need new rules, new conversations.
So yeah, these examples from crypto mining to blog platforms, they really hammer home that ethics rules aren't set in stone. So how do we get students ready for this constantly changing landscape? The advice seems pretty straightforward. Get involved in school stuff to see ethical issues up close. Try to lead by example. Just follow the rules day to day, show respect, and keep learning about being responsible so you can make good choices. Now, when that ethical foundation starts to wobble, that's often fertile ground for something really destructive like bullying to emerge. Our sources talk about school bullying as being like a harmful presence spreading through the community. When it happens, it can obviously hurt students deeply. It impacts their studies, their daily life, but also it can leave these emotional scars that might really shape their whole future.
Yeah, and that point hits home hard with the example of Elon Musk's childhood bullying experience. His biography details how he was frequently targeted with physical violence. Older kids, peers, using aggression to, assert dominance. The texts point out how experiences like that, especially when they're chronic, deeply affected his personality, his outlook on life. It just shows the profound, lasting damage bullying can do.
It's a really stark reminder, isn't it? And our sources mentioned Tedeschi and Calhoun's post-traumatic growth theory, the idea that very painful experiences can sometimes lead to growth. But the key takeaway for schools isn't, oh, well, maybe they'll grow from it. No, the ethical duty is crystal clear. prevent the harm in the first place, we can't just inflict pain hoping for growth. The burden of growth should never, ever be on the victim of someone else's malice.
That really brings up the whole intent versus impact issue, doesn't it? And building on that, Martin Seligman, who's often called the father of positive psychology, he argues psychology shouldn't just fix problems. It should actively work to boost human happiness, help people flourish. His research, which the material highlights, shows bullying leaves these lasting emotional wounds. It can lead to psychological biases like learned helplessness.
Mhm.
That's where, after repeated bad experiences, people just sort of give up trying.
Right, and it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
Our sources also list things like low self-esteem, being constantly put down just grinds away at your self-worth. And social anxiety, where you become afraid of future harm, so you just start avoiding people, avoiding situations. There's even the risk of actual post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, from really severe bullying. That trauma just stays with you.
And these impacts, they don't just stay with the individual. They ripple outwards, affecting family, the school itself, and eventually even the workplace. It becomes a serious societal issue. Think about the societal costs. Medical bills for therapy, lost productivity because people can't focus or work effectively, maybe even increased crime if victims look for revenge or fall in with the wrong crowd. Ultimately, it just eats away at trust, weakening the whole social fabric.
So positive psychology really tells us, look, take bullying seriously, stop it, and get victims psychological help quickly. But there's another angle, too, from restorative justice theory. Howard Zehr is a key figure here. His focus is less on punishment and more on fixing the harm done. It's about dialogue, cooperation, trying to mend relationships.
Exactly. For those who've been bullied, restorative justice is about emotional healing, getting their sense of control back, maybe rebuilding relationships that were broken, and importantly, getting the community involved in supporting them moving forward. It connects back to that idea, maybe like with the Musk example, that negative experiences can be transformed, but it needs intentional work repair, support, not just endurance.
We hear that phrase all the time, survival of the fittest. Sometimes kids are even sort of taught that's the rule. But sociologists, evolutionary biologists too, they point out that's a massive misreading of Darwin. Real strength, evolutionary success, it doesn't come from dominating or hurting others. It comes from cooperation, from helping each other.
Precisely. Evolution is about adapting best to the environment, not necessarily the strongest crushing the weak. When we put too much emphasis on ruthless competition, maybe neglecting empathy and cooperation, especially in modern society where individual gain often seems paramount, it can really twist our values. It doesn't just harm others, it fundamentally gets in the way of building healthy relationships and a society that actually works well together.
So there's a really strong message coming through here. Real success is not how much you get, but how many people you help. When we learn to actually work together, face challenges as a group, that's how we build something better. Restorative justice points to this too, repairing harm, rebuilding trust, that's fundamental. Maybe we need to move past this distorted survival of the fittest idea and really embrace helping each other.
And it's also really important to remember, bullying isn't just student on student. Teachers can be targets too. The sources mention students using verbal attacks, spreading rumors online about teachers. And sometimes, sadly, even experienced teachers might treat newer colleagues unfairly, maybe if they're trying different teaching methods. This creates huge stress for educators, affects their well-being, and ultimately, the quality of education they can deliver.
That's such a crucial point, often missed. Schools definitely need solid systems to protect teachers as well, and to encourage staff to support each other. Mutual respect, mutual understanding between teachers and students, and among teachers themselves, it's absolutely essential for preventing bullying and making sure every teacher can work in a place that feels safe, friendly, and, well, empowering.
Our sources break down the different types of school bullying. Each one has its own flavor and impact. You got physical bullying, pretty straightforward, hitting, pushing, that kind of thing. Then verbal bullying, mean words, teasing, spreading nasty rumors. Social bullying is often sneakier. Things like deliberately excluding someone, spreading lies to wreck their friendships. It can be hidden, but incredibly painful.
Then there's something called revenge bullying. This is where, tragically, someone who was bullied becomes a bully themselves. It creates this awful cycle that really needs careful handling. Sexual bullying, that's any unwanted comments, gestures, actions about someone's body or private life. And of course, cyberbullying. Seems like it's everywhere now, right? Online rumors, attacks, sharing private photos. The impact can be huge and last a long time because stuff online just spreads and sticks around.
Let's think about that case study they mentioned, Mary. A student, maybe a bit overweight, constantly mocked by classmates, mean names, jokes about her appearance. This was verbal bullying, just words, supposedly. But it caused real psychological trauma. It shattered her confidence, made her dread school, and inevitably her grades suffered. What this case really highlights, too, is the role of bystanders. When bullying happens, what other people do or don't do is often critical.
Absolutely. The material is really clear. Don't just stand by. Find the courage to actually help the person being targeted. That could mean reporting it, maybe speaking up directly, or even just offering some quiet support later. We also need to tell the person doing the bullying, firmly but calmly, hey, that's not okay, you need to stop. It really takes everyone, teachers, students, recognizing it's a shared responsibility. That's how you build a truly strong defense. Okay, so let's shift gears slightly to prevention and solutions, building a strong defense. Our sources really emphasize, look, we just can't afford to ignore school bullying. We need proactive prevention and really effective ways to handle it when it does occur to protect every single student.
And the prevention strategies need to be broad, multi-layered. Schools have to step up anti-bullying education. We're talking engaging talks, sure, but also interactive workshops, real discussions, things that help students truly grasp what bullying is, understand its deep consequences, and this is key, actually build empathy. You can use tools like role-playing, watching relevant videos, talking about real-life stories. The ultimate goal is to foster a genuinely friendly, inclusive school culture built on that respect and care we talked about earlier.
And when bullying does happen, you need clear paths for getting help. The materials stress having easy ways to report. Students need to feel safe speaking up, knowing their privacy will be protected.
Yes, and clear steps to help means schools need a process. Investigate incidents quickly and thoroughly. Follow established rules so it's fair. Apply consequences for the bullying behavior. But not just as punishment, right? As a chance for learning, for changing behavior, and critically, support for everyone. Victims need accessible counseling to heal and rebuild confidence. But we also need to address why the bully acted that way, help them understand the impact and change their behavior too.
One interesting mechanism the sources discuss is anonymous reporting. There's a definite plus side, right? It protects the reporter from backlash. That could encourage more students to speak up when they might otherwise be too scared.
True, but it comes with significant downsides too, as the analysis notes.
Yeah.
You risk false reports, maybe people using it for revenge, which wastes a lot of time and effort.
Mm.
And if you don't have concrete details or can't follow up with the reporter because they're anonymous, it makes a proper investigation really difficult, sometimes impossible.
So the suggestions seem to be about finding a balance. Maybe have an initial screening for anonymous tips. Definitely encourage non-anonymous reporting, but promise strict confidentiality. And offer multiple ways to report: online forums, suggestion boxes, maybe just talking to a trusted teacher or counselor so students can pick what feels safest for them.
You know, reflecting on everything we've unpacked in this deep dive, it's really clear that a healthy school isn't just about having rules written down somewhere. It's about a living, breathing foundation of ethics, that culture of respect and care, coupled with a really vigilant, proactive defense against bullying. Preventing it needs that whole package: solid education, nurturing a positive school culture, making sure there's safe reporting, and providing real support and intervention.
It really is all connected. We started off talking about how school ethics is like the glue holding the community together, and how love and care make it a welcoming place. We looked at the pros and cons of anonymous reporting, explored all those different types of school bullying, from physical harm to cyber, and saw the deep impact through examples like Elon Musk or the student Mary affected by verbal attacks.
And we touched on different ways of thinking about it, like positive psychology's focus on well-being and preventing harm, and restorative justice's emphasis on repairing relationships. These theories help us grasp the underlying psychological effects, the biases that can develop, and also the wider societal costs of letting bullying continue. It's a complex web demanding a response that considers all these angles.
So maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. We often hear that phrase, survival of the fittest, sometimes even presented as a rule to live by. But as we've discussed, sociologists and others tell us that's a big misunderstanding of Darwin. Real strength, the path to thriving, isn't about clawing your way up by pushing others down. It's about helping each other. Remember that line. Real success is not how much you get, but how many people you help. So what does it truly mean to thrive, not just for ourselves, but for the whole community? Especially when we know that every small action is important, because when we all help, we can make big changes.
Yeah, it's something to reflect on. How can each of us in our daily lives embody that respect and love and care? It takes ongoing effort from everyone, to really build and maintain an environment that's safe, harmonious, and genuinely inclusive for absolutely everyone.